Well, hello. I forgot to put a reminder up that I was starting live today, so I hope people have tuned in because I'm certain that you have the live demonstrations on the first Wednesday night of every month at 9:15 scheduled in your diary. So, first and foremost, before we get stuck in, tonight we're talking about, I'm going to talk about doing some mending, and we'll see how we go for time, but I think we'll do mending with hemming pants and doing the waistband on a pair of pants. But let's talk hands first of all. Today I went out and got myself some wicked sleeve art. How cool is that? I got myself some tat sleeves. These things are awesome. They cost $2.50 and they're like printed stocking material, but they give me heaps of attitude, like the tough nut that I am, but they're also very warm. So for winter, can have a practical application as well. So, hand tattoos tonight. Alrighty, so before we get stuck in too much, let's talk a couple of things to prep yourself for hemming a pair of pants today, hemming a pair of jeans. First thing you will need is good pins. And I've already given you a bit of a talking out about pins, so some good pins. And I've also grabbed some wonder clips as well, just in case I need those. And the other thing you're going to need is a way to actually mark your pants. So fabric marking pens, there's literally gabillions of them. Here in our range, our little haberdashery shop, I must have a dozen different types of fabric marking pens, different horses for different courses. So I'm just going to show you a couple that I love. The first one, and I've talked about it before, but I'm doing it again, is this guy here. Ooh. It is the Duo Marker from a little Australian company called Soline. And these Duo markers are a nice dark pen so that you can mark your hem. And then when you're finished, they come with their own eraser so you can erase it. Like magic. Gone. So these are a great range of pens by Soline. They make a few different pens. Soline markers. What I love about these guys, again, I love trying to support Australian businesses wherever I can. They have a very limited range, but what they do is excellent. So they don't try and do a billion different things. They just do really good fabric marking pens. And the other one that they do that I'm a really big fan of is this Air Erasable Pen. Now, if your name rhymes with Danielle and you're a bit of a control freak, you probably won't like these because if you don't pay attention to them after a couple of days, they'll just disappear. So when you draw on the fabric, after you finish drawing, the few days it'll just evaporate, disappear. But what they are very handy for is if you are doing a bit of dressmaking, you can mark as you go, and then when you're finished, that they go. You don't have to worry about trying to, get rid of the marks. So Air Erasable Pen, it has its own little niche market of fans. And then this pen here from Clover. You know I love Clover. Oh my gosh, there's knockoffs of this one everywhere at the moment all over Facebook. It's been around forever and ever and ever. This is a Checo pen. It's got loose powder in the top. See there? Oh, that's freaking out my focus. But the chalk comes out. Can you see that on there? So yellow chalk comes out of this little tiny wheel, and then as you sew, it tends to just rub away. So that is like a compressed chalk powder. Oh, sorry, loose chalk powder. So that's a very good pen as well. So, and you don't think you need it, but you can have a dozen fabric marking pens that all have really good purposes. And then to finish up, the last fabric marking pen that I love, this is from Matilda's Own. This is actually a white fabric marking pen, so it's ideal for drawing on blacks and navies and things like that. It's chalk suspended in liquid. You draw it on, and then when you're finished, you wash it out or iron it off, and it disappears when you finish. So great for marking those work pants. So we always seem to get conned into hemming. All right, now, hemming. You ready? Ready, let's go. First of all, don't be ashamed in a pinch to use this stuff. This is hemming web tape. Essentially, it's a tiny little strip of Vlisa-Fix that you fold into your hem and iron, and in a pinch, it will get you out of trouble and hold your pants up. I have known people that I've worked with who have stapled their pants up in a last-minute ditch effort to get their pants ready to go out. So this is handy to have It's great to have around. So if you do need to quickly hem, some kids, you know, one of your kids comes up and goes, Mom, I'm going to be at school, my pants. You can quickly do it with this. So don't rule out having hemming tape in your stash. Doesn't mean that you took a shortcut. Just means you're thinking quick. So that's hemming tape. The other stuff we have is Instabond tape. So this is something that you can take with you in your handbag, and then if you do need to do some emergency hemming, and I know it seems dumb, but like a wedding or a costume, fancy dress costume party, it'll do the temporary webbing for you. It'll hold into place until you wash it. And then finally, your good old body tape. Again, if you've got a dress or something that doesn't fit you quite right, this is, you put it on your skin, it'll hold it against your skin. Probably thinking costume parties again, but also with formal seasons and things, this is a handy thing again to have in your handbag. All right, things done. You ready to do some hemming? Let's do it. Now, I have made a mock pair of jeans. I actually was going to go to the op shop and get a couple of pairs of jeans and things to do it, but I actually decided not to because the color's dark and you can't see very well what I'm doing. So I went for just doing my preferred palette of orange on calico again to, first of all, match my tats, and second of all, make it easier for you to see. So I have just made this little fake flat felled seam, which is what your jeans has, so that we can talk about how to sew over that when you hem your jeans. Now, first of all, getting the length right when you hem your pants. You want to be wearing the shoes you're going to wear. So if you're a platform heels kind of girl, boy, then you want to put those on before you find the right length for your jeans. There's nothing worse than hemming a pair of jeans when you finish finding out that your ankle socks stick out like a extra from Back to the Future. So you want to make sure that the length is right when you wearing your shoes to make sure it fits. And then once you do find the length that you want to pop a pin in. And the pin's going to mark where the jeans finish. So where the hem of the jeans finish. They're upside down. This is the hem of the jeans here, and this is the top here. So when you put your pin in, I'll turn around for a better perspective. You mark it here to get your length right. And then you're going to enthusiastically chop your jeans. But what you want to do is just make sure that before you cut it with enough distance here so that you can turn over quite a decent hem. You don't want to turn it over a hem that's only really, really short. Mostly because it's going to look funny when you stitch it down, but also too, a shorter jeans hem will make your jeans all wobbly, which was cool when we were wearing bell bottoms. Well, I never wore bell bottoms, but back in those days we had big bloomy jeans. It didn't matter, but these days a little tiny hem like that will actually make the edge of your pants all wobbly. So you want to make sure you've got a decent amount, if possible, that you can fold underneath. So once you've got your pants trimmed, and you've cut away the excess that you don't want, we don't want this to start fraying out here. And in just the ordinary casual pants application, we could just fold a double hem, which means we fold it, go upside down, fold it upside down halfway, upside down, fold it up halfway, and then fold it again. And you can stitch that down and hem whatever it is you're making, your blouse, your pants or whatnot. But on your jeans, it's pretty thick in there, and particularly when you get to that really bulky side seam. And if you fold this and fold it again, that is not only hard work to get into while you're sewing, but it's hard work to get up and over while you're sewing to it. So when hemming our jeans, and again, you're going to find a way that suits you most comfortably, but when hemming your jeans, I took this out. We want to stop this from fraying and then do a single fold over. So to stop it from fraying and doing the simplest method that doesn't require any extra or special feet, we're just going to do a zigzag. So edge of the fabric against the edge of the foot. You see that okay? Or are you distracted by my tats? There, edge of the fabric against the edge of the foot. And we're going to choose a zigzag. Ordinary, everyday, 3-step zigzag. Not your normal zigzag. So your 3-step zigzag looks like this. Goes doot, 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 doot. That's what we want. So we're going to choose a 3-step zigzag. And we're going to make that zigzag quite long and quite wide. So I'm going to take it to a width of 5 and also a length Don't go 5, might be a bit big. We'll go length of 3.5, length of 4. So that's going to give us a nice zigzag that's not going to come easily undone. And we're going to scoot down the edge of this fabric. Here we go. I'm honestly trying to sew through my phone. It's like this half-second delay. It's really, really tricky. All right, so there you go. So you've done this zigzag that's going to stop it from fraying out. That might be a bit long. I should have maybe taken the length down to 3. I might just do that again just so that you can see the difference. And this is just going to stop all the loose fibres because denim won't fray out, but you don't want every time you walk down the street to have little tassely bits dragging around the cuffs of your pants. There you go, that's better. So that's going to stop it from fraying out. That's very pretty, Penny. Some of your best work yet. All right, so now we're going to fold it at the point where we want the length of the jeans to be. And probably best to work inside out. And then when you pin, and I say this about 1 billion times in kids sewing classes, pinning is one of the trickiest things. If you get it right, then life's easier. When you pin, you want to pin pointing to where you're sewing. A lot of people pin this way. But what happens when you pin in the the same direction as you're going? First of all, it's more difficult to remove the pin as you go. But second of all, the fabric is actually inclined to creep along the pin. So the best way to stop that from happening is to pin pointing to where you'll be sewing. So we're going to go ahead and pin here. And look, my mum will tell you that if I could just do something with 2 pins, I will. But when it comes to hemming, you probably want to put in more than less. And that's going to make it easier for you as you go. Or, I just heard some of you think, oh, but Penny, how do you know you've got that right all the way around? You can use one of these things. These cost about $3.50, $4. And you ask someone who's had one of these, they'll have had the same one they've had since they were, 20, sewing all those years ago. It's one of those tools that you just hang on to all the time and use all the time in the sewing room. And what happens is you can slide this up and down and set. See here? So this edge lines up here. Put this red little marker here. And that means you can just keep going along and making sure that your hem is the same depth all the way around. Cool? So this is called a sewing gauge. If you don't have one, grab one. If nothing else, between that and a tape measure around your neck, you'll feel like a pro. Okay, so I've pinned it. And now I'm going to sew it. Of course, the issue that we have here is that we don't want to sew right down here. First of all, if we do that, all of this will flop around. But second of all, again, it's pretty naff. We don't dress like that. So we want to give ourselves quite a wide hem on our jeans. So for today, so you can see it, I'm going to do a hem up here, which means I need to find a marking on my needle plate to look at to line it up. Don't be tempted to look at this side. You need your hem to be parallel to the actual folded over edge. So we're going to find a line on our needle plate, and then I'm going to grab my little magnetic seam guide. These, again, $3 I think for this one, $3 or $4 for the different types of seam guides. Actually, don't pay $10. I saw someone selling these on Facebook for $10. You only need a couple of bucks for these guys. They're great. Pop it on. It's magnetic. It's going to hold that in place for us. We're going to choose a straight stitch. Straight stitch. And I'm going to move my needle right over to the left to give you a nice wide hem. So I'm changing that stitch width down to 0. So you can see it's moved that needle right across. And we're going to go ahead and sew. Oh, starting position. You want to start on the inside seam so you can't see the start and finish knobbles. Cool? I forgot to mention that. Okay. Now, once you get to your pin, oh, I've made a bit of a mistake here. I've put my pins the wrong way. We're going to pull a pin out. Don't sew over the pin. If you sew over the pin, 99.999% of the time, you won't actually hit it. But that one time you do, you'll break your needle, and there's a chance you'll actually make that shot go up into your machine. So take your needle out, take your pin out before you sew over it. Okie dokie. Now, we're getting to this bit here, the big thick lump. And this is what always stumps us when we sew our hems on our jeans. Also do things like bag making, where you're getting to areas where you've got lots of, the webbing maybe, and then you're putting the bag lining in around the webbing. You have to take the sewing machine up over this heavy, thick lump. And this is where your actual machine may balk at doing it, not just for the needle's ability to pierce all this fabric, but for your foot's ability to actually successfully climb over that big thick lump. So I'm going to introduce you to something, first of all, that you never knew you had. If you have one of these already, or one of these little point turners already, then you actually have this cool feature there that you never ever knew what to do with. And it's this end here. It has a little metal thing that opens and closes on this one. This one is plastic. And what it does, its technical name is it is a height compensation plate. And what you do with this is you actually put it under your foot as you approach these really thick seams. And what that does is it levels out the back of the foot so it's got a flat surface to grip and keep on sewing. Now, it's metal, so it sounds freaky to do that, but you're actually putting it behind the stitch, so you're sewing away from it. So as you sew, it'll actually just pop away harmlessly from behind the foot. So I'm going to not get my arms in the way here. Needle's in the down position so that nothing comes asunder. Foot goes up. And then this guy here, it slides between the foot and the fabric so that this hole is where the needle sits. So it's between the foot and the fabric. It's up against the edge of that really thick seam. The foot goes down on top of that. And so now, because that's thick, the foot's no longer at an angle, the foot's flat, so it can keep sewing over that big bump. So once we have that lined up, we're now going to just sneak forward. And as you can see, as you get, well, can you see that? As you get to that thick lump, the foot's flat. This little guide is working its way backwards because of the movement of the stitch. And we've managed to step onto that thick lump without any drama. The only other issue you may have when stepping up onto that thick lump in your jeans is if you have a smaller machine, your little machines may struggle a bit with the actual needle penetration. You may have to help it by turning your flywheel, that big wheel that goes round and round on the right hand side, to help those needles your needle get into those layers of fabric. Now we've gotten to the other side, and if we want to, we can just rush on down the other side here, but the step down may also give us a bunch of little tiny stitches as the foot tries to get purchase on the fabric. So we're going to do the same thing again with this guy here, but we're going to be extra super duper careful. So the needle comes out, my pin comes out. Where is my head today? It's just not. Anyway, we're going to put this in front of the foot, lining up the hole with the needle and being careful this time because obviously we're going to be sewing into this. So we're just pushing this, butting it up against the thick seam in the fabric, making sure the groove is lined up in front of the needle, and we're now going to sew onto that platform. Like so. And now that we've stopped, if we need a little bit more, we can lift the foot up, ease this forward, lift the foot down, and continue on a little bit further until the foot is back down over the lump. Take this guy out. Foot is now flat, and then off you go. And there it is. You've sewn over this really thick lump, but you haven't had any balk in your stitches, so you get a nice neat finish sewing over it. So that is technically called a height compensation plate. It is usually a standard issue on the other end of these sewing gauges. It's pretty common on your, this cord, every week, this cord. It's on the other end of your point turners, and you can also buy it as a standalone thing. So this time round from this manufacturer, it's called a bulky seam aid, and you may hear it referred to as makes me cringe even saying it, a humper jumper. But that's the purpose of this little thing. So if you've got a sewing machine, particularly Husqvarna, I think, puts these in as a standard accessory, and you wonder what that was for, that's exactly it, to help you get over those really thick lumps. So give that a try. Like I said, if you're sewing with it in the front, just go easy. Make sure the groove lines up with your needle and just take your time. Slow that machine down if you have to do it. So that is your jeans hemmed. Hemmed? Lovely. All right, now we're going to look at doing your waistband on your jeans. So What you'll need here is an extra set of hands. So I mocked up, oh no, that's not it. I mocked up here. I mocked up a little pair of jeans. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's put a pocket on here just so you get some perspective. Here's your pocket. And it has your jeans, cool swirly whirly thing on it and some top stitching. So this is your butt. When it comes to fitting, you'll need a second set of hands. It's really, really difficult to to fit a pair of jeans that are loose and gapey at the back without someone helping you. The reason jeans these days tend to gape at the back is because we tend to wear them a little bit lower by nature. So they're manufactured a little bit wider to sit on the hips, but we tend not to actually wear our jeans that low. When we pull them up, we get that big gape in the back. So we want to reduce that so that when you sit down, it doesn't pull and your pants feel comfortable. Typically, your impulse is to go ahead and just pinch up a big chunk of the fabric and make like a little dart. We're going to do something a little bit like a dart, but what we're going to do is we're going to completely remove this bulk so that when we're sitting down, we don't have that thick jeans waistband sticking into our back. So step one, you're going to need to work out how much to remove. If you have someone who can help you, put the pants on and go ahead and tuck in and pin. I'm going to use my wonder clips. The amount that you think you need to come out of it. If you haven't got someone to help you, take a guess, take an inch out of each side and then put it on and see how that fits. And remember, what you do to one side of your butt, you need to do to the other side of the butt. And then once you've worked out how much you need to take out, you're going to go ahead and mark it. So we have a mark here. This is telling us that we need to take this much out of our waistband. And if we were making this from scratch, we'd actually make a dart here. We're technically going to do that. We're going to draw a line down and it's going to stop typically just at the pocket. One like so. And then what we're going to do here is chop it. We're going to actually cut through your waistband. So instead of just pinning that waistband up, which gives you all that bulk because you've got your belt, straps in there, or not your belt straps, but your waistband has got the extra layers that hold the belt loops in. We're going to cut through all of that so that the bulk isn't pressing hard against our skin. So you're going to cut down here into your denim, into your stretch cotton, whatever it is that it's made out of, and we're actually going to overlap it. So it's given us that dart, but what we've done is we've taken the bulk of the dart away. So instead of having a big fold up against our skin, we just have this overlap. Now, fair warning, and I hope you haven't been just sewing along with me and just chopped yours, you should understand that this is a little bit uglier than a dart, but I tend to wear my shirts out over the top of my jeans so no one ever sees this. So if that's not an issue, this is the way to do it. If you wear your blouses and things tucked in, then you need to go back to the other dart way. It's no good for you. But we're going to have this edge here exposed on the outside and another edge inside exposed here. So once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and pin it. And you can see straight away by doing that, we've given ourselves a little curve to go over our butt. Bottom, butt. I'm going to go for butt. So now we're going to go ahead and, let me just show you where I've overlapped that. So I have overlapped that so that this notch here meets this notch here. So that's quite a large overlap, but we can still make that work because the pocket's going to cover this little ugly bit down here. So lining up those two notches that you've marked on there, we're going to pop a pin in. Now, stitch for this one. We're going to go back to our favorite 3-step zigzag. So that is that zigzag that we just did before that goes doot, 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 doot. But what we want that 3-step zigzag to do is be quite wide, but we want it to be quite close together. So we're going to set it up so it actually zigzags like this. And we do that by reducing the length of that stitch. So we're going to choose a 3-step zigzag. And I've got the width set at 5. And I'm going to take that length right down and see what that looks like at 0.2. Let's have a look. So you can see here that zigzag is really close together. The length has been reduced, which makes the zigzag really, really close. And what that does, because it's a 3-step zigzag, it's a straight stitch, straight stitch, straight stitch, but on an angle, it's holding everything together, while a normal zigzag is a bit loosey-goosey and everything just pulls away and it can easily be hooked and broken. But that 3-step zigzag will stop that from happening. And because we're going to do it in the same color as our pants, you won't see it. It's going to cover the raw edge, so the raw edge of this cut will go through the middle, and this is going to hold all the bits and pieces together. I'm going to actually make that a bit wider. I think 0.5 is a bit skinny. So we're going to go up, sorry, 5 is a bit skinny. We're going to go up to 7 and try again. Now, needle for this, again, will depend on what you're doing. Because you are going through this really bulky area here where the waistband is, I would probably put a denim in, and I would probably put a denim 14 in to do that. So there you go. That's what we're aiming for. See that? Coolio. Okay, so then what we're going to do here is starting from the bottom of the dart and working our way up. Now, see, there is this little bit of overlap here. Because our pocket's here, we're going to pull the pocket open, and then the pocket's going to cover it up. And we're going to sew so that this edge goes into the middle of the foot. And I'm just going to make sure I don't block the camera. So with that zigzag, it's going either side of that raw edge. Now you're going to get to this really thick waistband part here. You can't use your humper jumper on this as you get to the thick waistband because it's only really skinny and this is a fat zigzag. So for your height compensation tool, you can only use it for straight stitch. So when you get to your waistband and it's very hard and high, you need to slow right down and maybe even turn your flywheel to help it get over that thick jump. Resist the urge to pull too much because that'll actually cause a broken needle. When you pull, the needle will travel with the fabric, hit your needle plate and break. So you're going to get to the top and then backwards and forwards. And that dart. Now, like I said, orange on calico, you know, it's very obvious and you can see it. But if this is navy on your navy blue jeans, the pocket covers up this little bit here where the pucker is. You're not going to be able to see that at all. It's going to disappear. But what you have mostly is this lovely flat overlap rather than that big bulky lump. And then we're just going to flip it over and do the same on the other side. I hem all my jeans like this. Do my waistbands on my jeans like this. Everything that's in my drawer has a little seam like this on the top. I don't know why. I always find, particularly as clothes get a little bit larger, they tend to overestimate those waistbands. But for me, this is the best way for them to fit and not be grinding my back while I'm driving the car. Back up the other side. Stop at the top. And that's done. And then just repeat on the other side. Cool? Alrighty, so I think I've babbled on enough tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Next month, what we're going to be doing is appliques. So I'm going to be talking about how to do appliques next month, and we're going to be looking at ways that you do your applique techniques and also how to do turns and things and getting that right. So great work, everyone, for looking after each other over the lockdown. I hope you all had a relatively good time at home while that was going on. And, of course, great to see everybody's comments and feedback on the videos we popped up during that. I'll talk to you guys soon. And again, if you want to get yourself some of these really cool tattoo sleeves, I think I got these from the dress up department at Choice Discount Store up the road. Okay, guys.